Pecha Kucha 187, Scary Goku, and Colouring Smiley Show M. Bison, page 1. So it's been more lockdown artwork with no reading comics this week. I started on the 5th page of my 5-page first block of the Smiley Show that I'm working on this week, and then basically stayed on the first page, and I'm going to stay on it until it's actually done. So just here, Smiley's hands, I'm going to probably need to repencil. I kind of, at this point, I'm drawing a lot of big hands. I should look into how to draw hands so that they are credible, but that sounds a little bit too much like work. So that will get done when it gets done. Eventually it will. I was going to say if, but eventually it will get done. So what I'm really trying to do now is make some actual decisions. I kind of coloured Bison over not the best pencil layer just to kind of force me to finish the page, and then I re-penciled Bison with cleaner pencil lines. The irony is that Bison's boots are super cool, and I actually, when I was Googling them, there's so many different cool ways to draw them, I kind of ended up picking none of them because it's too much of a weird angle and stuff. I was also toying with the idea of giving Vegeta snakeskin boots, as I was just like, I literally haven't drawn a full body picture of Vegeta. I don't know what shoes he wears. I also like there being a meme where he wears like different shoes every time you see his feet. Nike, I can't even, Vans, whatever. As I was colouring the Smiley Show, I was also thinking it would be great if I could have all the colours be consistent. I've tried using swatches in the past, and for some reason I didn't get the colours that I should have been getting. I'm just going to try and pick one and stick it out. And if the swatches themselves don't work, put into the program, I will simply use the document I created and colour pick from that. And I have also kind of come to my first consensus on the Smiley Show set. It's kind of the set it's always been, but I'm just adding a bit more to the back wall and actually deciding on a definitive colour palette. I was using this kind of turquoise blue gradient thing in the previous Smiley Shows I've done, and now I'm trying to have a carpet on the floor, figure out what colour Smiley's desk should be. It's all subject to change, but I mean, all of this is subject to change because the whole point of these Smiley archives is I'm taking old Smiley Shows and creating a production cycle to see how that works, if it works. So here I am creating my shadow layers to apply, and then adding a second layer for M. Bison. I feel like it's starting to get where it needs to go. One final thing to do for the M. Bison picture is to add lens flare. He is descending from the heavens. There should be a lot of strong light. I don't want it to be crazy, but I want it to be quite pronounced. Lens flare is something you can like click and drop into a Photoshop document. You can't really do that in Manga Studio. So once the page is actually finalized, that is what I will do. I'll drag it into Photoshop. In theory, I could go back and forth because Photoshop PSD files can be, sent back to Clip Studio Paint, but whatever. Because the Smiley Show is a pain in my ass because it's a lot of work doing a lot of work, I kind of had this spontaneous idea to draw like a serious picture of Goku, where I was going to draw his features like as realistically as possible. So it's this dude with massive eyes, a tiny nose, and this fucking needle thin chin. I also decided it should be like a extreme worm's eye view, and as I'm doing it, and it's this idea that he's just Super Saiyaned up for the first time, and Frieza's like, no, I'm gonna try and show Goku both in all his majesty and looking as in proportionate as he does with his manga face, but in the end I couldn't find a way to portray it where it looks goofy. So it just ended up looking super serious. And I did very much enjoy this idea of having side lighting where there's a lot of shadow right down the middle of Goku's face and chest and stuff. So I kind of finished my first sit-down setting with my mood lighting established and, the background, the stormy clouds that arguably maybe he causes or Frieza does when he starts blowing up the planet. And I just thought, yeah, this is great. Now all I've got to do is figure out the hair and then just kind of make sure it's as tight as I'd like it to be. So as I was figuring out the hair, because it's going to be glowing and I don't know how to draw hair because I'm airbrushing and it's very still much a work in progress, my production cycle using airbrushes. I got to this point and thought, you know what, I kind of like what it's doing. I'm not going to be able to invest anything short of a massive amount of time to get something else, but it might not be something better. So then I went back and kind of added a definitive background with lightning, which was actually a lot less work than I thought it would be, since the last time I tried to draw lightning in Photoshop many years ago, it was a disaster. Probably more a case of I just couldn't find the tools I needed at the time. I did also entertain doing a colour version, because one of the principles of this was supposed to be make it as realistic as possible so it could look as weird as possible. But colouring over my airbrushing stuff is it's complicated because I'm effectively using different layers. And as I decided to drop this on Instagram, because of the way it makes images of a certain ratio look, I was going to like square it up so it wouldn't cut off the top or the bottom of the image, but in the end I just thought, screw it, I don't like having weird black borders just because Instagram is weird. So sad clown of the week is it's me, I guess, because I'm playing Resident Evil 2, the new version, and Mr. X, this guy just showed up, and what he does is he just walks around the police station chasing you irregardless of what you're doing and irregardless of where you're going. There's a lot of places in the game you would regard as safe places. He doesn't give a fuck. He'll just bop in, and much like Michael Myers from the Halloween movies, he never runs, he always walks. He's walking towards you always with intent and purpose to punch you the fuck out and ruin your game. But somehow, even though he never runs, he's always keeping pace with you, and you will always be running when you see him because he's here to ruin your day. He literally made me rage quit when he showed up because he was like chasing me as I'm trying to do the game. There's lickers in the corridors. Normal zombies are a problem in this game because it's not Resident Evil 4. No drop kicks, no German suplexes. It's just you with a gun that isn't good enough against zombies that take like an undeterminable number of headshots to kill. Maybe you shouldn't be shooting them in the head at all. But that brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 187, and I will see you next time.